Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of our Playing to Win and Practitioners Insight. Hopefully, you watched the inaugural episode, which really set the tone for what we're going to be talking about on these amazing conversations. My name is Tiffany Bova. I'm joined by my wonderful friend, Roger Martin. Welcome, Roger.
Thanks for having me back, Tiffany. I guess it was fun enough last time.
Yeah, Yeah, it was fun enough last time, but you're gonna have to get sick of me because we got a show together. So
That's
listen,
great. I'm looking
this is
forward to
all
many more.
about playing to win. Yes, playing to win, the practitioner's insights, really based on Roger's work and his book, Playing to Win, his amazing blog that he puts out every Monday on Medium. If you haven't subscribed, please do, as well as some of the things from my book, Growth IQ, and all the conversations Roger and I have privately that now we're going to have publicly about how we all sort of think differently about strategy. But through his work, he has uncovered 5 categories of strategy thinking, if you will, boxes, levers, whatever term you want to use. But the very first one is this strategy choice cascade. And maybe you can just, for those of people who might not have caught the first show, just very quickly give us the definition of this choice cascade and how you landed there. And then we'll share the 5 boxes in there.
Sure. So as I talked about last week, when you asked me what is strategy, it's an integrated set of choices that compels desired customer action. And the immediately reasonable question to ask about that, okay, Roger, kind of what choices might those be? Right. And I've come to the conclusion that there are 5 choices that are kind of always there, and you just put it up, but they're always there. And if you don't have good answers to those choices and answers that fit together and reinforce, you're not going to have a good strategy. And I would just say that's now come out of I created this actually in 1995, and so it's 30 years of watching whether a company can articulate a set of choices along these 5 categories or dimensions. And this piece, which is a piece in the series called Decoding the Strategy Choice Cascade, answered some questions that readers had about the cascade. So one question was, gee, Roger, why the 5 boxes? Because many thought strategy is just the first 3. So winning aspiration, it's setting out what you want to accomplish. So again, if it's desired customer action, there has to be a desire behind that of what happens. Where to play is on what, depending on if you like sports or military metaphors, what playing field you're going to play on. We're going to play over here or over there, or what battlefield we're going to play on, like what customers, what geography, what vertical stage, what segment, definition of winning on what field of play. And then there's a set of choices about how to win. What's our theory of being better than anybody else on that playing field, right? And so people ask me the question, isn't that enough? Isn't that enough for strategy? And my experience is, no, it's not enough, right? It's because if you don't have a set of capabilities that competitors can't or won't be able to replicate immediately, your win, if it's a clever win, won't last very long, right? It'll only last as long as it succeeds, and then everybody else will say, oh, I guess I'll do that too. Right? The great strategies, whether it's Tide, the number 1 detergent in America for 76 and counting years, or the domination of Apple iPhone, if they can do the same thing as you can do, and you don't have a set of capabilities, then your win is hollow. Last box, again, people ask, say, Roger, that sounds pretty operational. And again, I don't care about distinctions between what's strategic and what's operational. No, what I care is, do you have a set of management systems that will build and maintain the capabilities necessary to win where you've chosen to play to meet your winning aspiration? Now, you notice what I've done is I've gone in one direction, but then loop back in the other direction. And that's one important thing about the choice cascade and this integrative set of choices. They've got to fit together and reinforce. So you not only have to ask, well, what where to play would bring alive my winning aspiration, what how to win would reinforce my where to play, what capabilities would enable management systems, but then go back up and say, do my management systems actually build and maintain those capabilities? Do those capabilities enable me to win because competitors can't or won't replicate them? Is that way of winning appropriate for my chosen field of play, or would it be better if I narrowed it, or would it be better if I broadened that field of play? And in the end, will that enable me to win in the way I hope to win? And so, one big question was, "Hey, Roger, why the 5 boxes?" And that's my answer to why the 5 boxes.
Well, I am a visual learner, as you know. Like if you had said it to me, I would have landed very different than visually looking at it. So I was like,
Yes.
I need to pull up the image because
Yes.
it's helpful. And I think the visual of the difference between the solid dots and the dashed dots means you're going and then you're coming back. It's not. So my question to you would be, can you start in the middle of this cascade? Like, can you go into how to win, or my must-have capabilities, or I'm starting with management systems, or does it have to start like in this waterfall?
No, and that's the number 2 question that people ask. Why this order? And is that the order you do them in, Roger? Right? And I said, actually, one, you don't have to do them in this order, and in fact, I generally don't. Where I tend to dive into strategy when I'm working with a group on strategy, or diving into my own strategy and the entities I've run, is the where to play, how to win boxes, which I call the heart of strategy. Right, where to play, how to win's the absolute beating heart of strategy. If you don't have a good where to play, how to win, you can't have a good strategy. Nothing else can save it. And I imagine pairs of where to play, how to win. I could play here and win in this place, or I could play here and win in this way. Right. I don't actually make lists of where to play, which is something that people often do in strategy. Oh, what are the where to plays we could do? Okay, now let's lock and load on that where to play. Now, how do we win? That is tying one arm behind your back in strategy.
Well,
it's
I think
pairs of the two that's important. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. And what I was going to say is the simplicity of it is almost something that you have to say, be disciplined in the simplicity of it.
Yes.
Right? Because my winning aspirations are 12. Where to play is 72. How to win is a 50 different things. My must-have capabilities probably 300. My enabling management systems is 750, right? Or whatever you think it is, right?
You're right.
And then it's overwhelming. So I would say when I work with leaders and when I work with companies, they get very caught in one of the or two of the boxes, but then the other boxes in their mind are kind of noise. It's like it's not my responsibility. It's noise. Let me get through this before I worry about that, or it's not my responsibility. And so I feel like the simplicity helps. So I don't know if there's something you ever say in that where it's like how to win. Do you say, look, you may be able to win in 12 areas. I mean, unless you're a massive, you're GE, you're Ford, like that's different, right? Your asset and access to capital is much different than someone who's a mid-size or a small business. So is there sort of a line that you say when you start sharing this with people and they come right back and go, yeah, here are the 20 things. Do you caution them or do you just let them go?
Yeah, no, I caution them. I tend to let them go and then bring them back. It's like A.G. Lafley when he took over as CEO. We did this big offsite with the senior management team, and they laid out the capability that they thought were important to P&G, and the list was 112.
So I'm just going to hold you right there. So Procter and Gamble's list was 112. So
yes.
if you have any more than 112, I'd say it's probably too long.
Yes.
Because if P&G only had 112, and I don't say only, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, you're right. But AG said 5. We're going to have 5 that are the things that we really invest in that are going to help us win. And they went to 5 as their must-have capabilities that they were going to invest behind: brand building, consumer understanding, go-to-market, innovation, scale. These are the 5 things that we are collectively going to do better than anybody else. So that let people kind of go, but then help them realize that if you make a choice to do everything, you've made a choice to do nothing, right?
Yeah, and I think and that's kind of it, right? If it's a list, I'm in the middle of doing this right now in my day job, right? It's what's the priorities?
Yeah.
We've doubled the business every year for the last 8 years. How do you keep up that pace? It's the systems, it's the process, it's the people, it's the making choices, it's staying true to those choices. Like, what are the decisions? And I wonder if it is just to go back to our very first inaugural show, it's the lack of understanding what that actually means about making decisions. Like, I feel like that's an area. It's 2 things. One, there's research from Bain that says, like, kind of the number one reason businesses actually stop growing or stall their growth is internal inertia or bureaucracy, right? And that, in my mind, whether you believe in that or not, directionally, right? Directionally, that bureaucracy happens because you're not making decisions, and the decision may be just stop to do something, right? Internal inertia is, I need way too much information before I make a decision. And so, again, within the boxes, if it's 112 for Procter and Gamble and you're a mid-sized business and you have 200, something's wrong, right? But then he said it's 5. So maybe 5 is too narrow. I don't know, right? But do you feel like everybody is unique, or what would, if someone wanted to say, what would be the right number for us to try to guardrail?
Probably 5 plus or minus 2.
Yeah.
Right. Those who win make clear choices on where to play. We play here and not these other places. They have a theory of winning. They say, this is how we are going to create more value for our customers than our competitors, right? Right. They just figure that out, and then they say, what are the 3, 4, 5 things that we can do spectacularly well to bring that to life, to actually make that true, rather than customers are going to like our stuff way better than the competitors. Yeah. How? Is it because we have better understanding? We have greater scale, so we invest more in R&D than they do. Do we have a better go-to-market, our distribution network? What capabilities do we have to? And then how are we going to keep on investing in those capabilities? And that's what happened after the exercise to get it to 5. It's like, well, we're going to make sure we're investing our resources disproportionately in those 5. And we're not going to fool ourselves and say, oh yeah, we invest a lot in R&D, and not ask the question for Procter, is it actually more than Unilever? Is it more than Johnson & Johnson? Is it more than Colgate or Kimberly-Clark, L'Oreal, their main competitors? So it has this ability to focus your mind on fewer things that are important, and being able to not pay attention to and not waste resources on the things that aren't. Because to win in strategy, you have to commit to a set of choices.
Yeah, and so again, if you haven't read Playing to Win, I'm just going to give you. I don't think Roger's ever seen this, so we'll have a little fun. This is the first section. Those are my highlights. My highlights and my notes, like literally, like strategy is a choice. All my little notes and all my little stuff, right? So not to make you blush or anything, but and I read this when it came out. So this is not that I just did this. This is this is always sort of on my desk. It's one of those go-tos for me whenever I'm struggling with how to figure it out. But I think a lot of this is this making the wrong decision, right? The fear of, I'm going to make a choice, it's the wrong choice.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, Tiffany. And so the reason for having these long lists of initiatives is, let's just kind of do everything. But what people don't step back from that and say, oh, that was a choice to invest equally in 12 things that aren't related to one another. They think it's avoiding making a choice, but everything is a choice, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
everything is a choice. Not making a choice is a
It's a
choice.
choice. Absolutely.
Uh,
And
and and so helping them see that when I work with teams is helping them see that. And one thing I often do is I reverse engineer their current strategy. I say, well, by our actions, what must be our where to play? What must be our theory of winning? What must be the capabilities we think of our, what must be the management systems that are clear, and therefore what must be our aspiration? And they often will say at the end of that exercise, no, 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 Roger, that's not it. We want to be the very best in our industry. And I say, you may want that, but it's not reflected in your choices.
right.
You've actually made a set of choices that make you an average player. There are 5 big players in this industry, and guess what? We're third. And customers couldn't care if we blew up and got hit by a meteorite tomorrow and disappeared. That's our choices. We've made those choices, and that's sometimes a hard conversation, and they cavil at it a little bit because they believe that, you know, that having a high aspiration is kind of enough. You know, telling your shareholders, we're going to be the best, so that's our strategy. No, it's not. Strategy
Well,
is what you do, not what you say. Is what is the expression I always use.
and you can tell what the strategy is by what is done, right? I mean, right.
Absolutely.
And so one of your co-author in Playing to Win, A.G. Lafley, who you've mentioned a number of times, is the former chairman and CEO of Procter and Gamble. Hence why we use the example. But if you wouldn't mind to kind of bring this concept home, the story in the book was Oil of Olay, right? You know, the face cream, it was very competitive. It was in the 1990s. Some of you listening weren't born, but stay with us because Oil of Olay is still on the shelves, right? So maybe you can give a high level of the
Sure.
choice and how he got there.
Sure. So if you reverse engineer to the choice of Olay at that time, we did this in 1999, 98 to 2000 actually, it was the 7th to 10th kind of biggest in the face cream market. So a real laggard. It wasn't making much money and it had no growth. And AG, who had taken over beauty in 1998, the global beauty business, didn't like that because skincare is the biggest category in all of beauty, and we had a terrible position in it. And so we had to make choices, and the choices were to say, no, we want to figure out how to be the number one player in a market that we are nowhere close to being number one now. Bold, where to play. All the competitors are focusing on women over 50 who have already noticed they have wrinkles and are trying to fight that. We said nobody is serving actually women age 25 to 49. Women age 29 to 49 actually do buy these products, but nobody is speaking to them and saying, we've got something for you that'll be good for you, and it'll be great for you when you're 50 plus, but you're doing it now. And you're noticing your skin aging, what we identified as the 7 sides of aging of your skin. And we are going to win, right, by having a product for them that is higher quality than they could get anywhere in the mass distribution, right? They'd have to go to prestige distribution, department store, Sephora, pay a whole lot more for it. And we're going to use our R&D kind of strength, which we haven't been using in this at all because it's been a lagging product in a lagging category. Nobody was paying attention to it. We're going to out-invest our competitors in that and have the most efficacious cream, and we're going to partner with the trade in ways that give them way more margin because it's a higher margin product. We went out with an initial product that was almost $19 instead of $5. Sold like crazy. 10 years of 10 to 15% growth, and we knocked Clinique, Estee Lauder's Clinique brand, off the pedestal as the number one skincare brand in the world. And we grew a business from $700 million flat business a year to a $2.5 billion growing and highly, highly profitable business by picking a place that was a unique set of choices, picking a how to win that couldn't easily be replicated by competitors. J&J's Neutrogena came after us 10 years later and started doing the same thing, but 10 years of 10 to 15% growth where you take over and become the dominant player, I'll take that.
It's kind of like Red Bull, like that. It's kind of like Red Bull, right? Create a category, create a market, enjoy 10 years, expand. By the time someone goes, oh, wait, energy drinks, what is that, right? Or going after 25 to 49-year-olds, right? But I think the key thing that you said in there too, that I think people also miss, and a mistake I think companies do, is they don't hang on long enough to the strategy.
Right.
Like, you just said that was a 10-year horizon, right? It wasn't starting from zero, but over 10 years, it went from 700 million to 2 billion. So if you're listening to this and you're like, you're in month 2 of this new where I'm playing and where I'm trying to win, right? And you're in month 2 and you're not seeing results, it may not because it's the wrong strategy, but it may be because you just haven't given it enough time to gain momentum. But it could be the wrong strategy. So, you have to make sure that you give it, and it's like a good wine, like let it breathe. Like you got to give it a minute, right?
I agree. And sometimes it does. I mean, I've been involved in strategies that have longer gestations and shorter. This one happened to be shorter in that the product just sold out, right? At this super high price point. Because it turned out, and I don't know if you're a woman like this, Tiffany, but many women didn't want to make an extra trip to the department store, first floor of the department store, to get their face cream when they were in the mass channels that we were in every day. And if we could just give them something great there, they would love it. But you might ask the question, okay, so Clinique is number 1 in the market. It's the lowest end Estee Lauder product. Why wouldn't it come from the prestige channel, which is what that's called, the department store channel, the Sephora, Ulta channel is called prestige, whereas Walmart, Target, etc. Walgreens is mass. Why wouldn't they come into mass? Why do you think they wouldn't come into mass? Why wouldn't Estee Lauder, which has Bobbi Brown and a whole bunch of kind of high-end brands in prestige, why wouldn't they pull Clinique kind of out of that exclusive and give it to mass? What would happen to the rest of L'Oreal?
Yeah, that's the trick, right? Like, you don't want to sort of impact or devalue your brand. I mean, it's all the questions, right? You don't want to commoditize it. You don't want to get into a price fight with yourself.
There's all kinds and you don't want to get annihilated by the prestige trade who will say, we're going to punish all your other brands for not showing loyalty to us. So we didn't know. We suspected that the competitor most capable of derailing this strategy wouldn't do it. They could have. That's where I say it's the can't won't test. They either can't, in this case they could have. They had a brand at a price point. They could have done it. They knew the business like crazy, but they wouldn't because they feared retaliation. Legitimately, I don't think it was a dumb idea on their part. They feared the retaliation against their prestige brands because 100% of their sales were in the prestige channel. Can you sacrifice that to stop this? No. You do what most companies in that position do. They hope that the Olay thing is just not going to really work out. 10 years later. Sorry.
Well, that story is littered across the business, right? Nike having its own stores, not going into discount stores. You have brands opening their, Apple in a Best Buy and not in its own stores. Like the whole distribution channel is sort of where I cut my teeth. So I could say it is the age old direct, indirect, wholesale, direct, online. Like, are you going to put it in the store on an Amazon store when you have your direct store? Like, how is it a different product? Like, I used to run a division of Gateway computers. So we had Gateway computers at Gateway stores. And then we had different brands with a different SKU that was bought direct versus, right? And it was the way you would kind of play the market, or it was under, I'm not saying Olay did this, but you would have like almost the exact same product with a lesser brand. And that's what you were pushing out to the wholesale. And the ingredients might be slightly different, but still a good product and all of those things. So I think this playing to win just unpacks that there is no one right answer or one right strategy.
No.
You better know your market. Yeah.
No, and that's what people often like. They'll and I always have great trepidation when they ask me that. They say, "Well, give me an example of a great strategy." And I'm just terribly fearful that they'll just white out the things and change, make minor changes and play. And it's like, no, your context is not Olay. It is not Gateway. Whatever year this was not Olay in 2000 or Gateway in whatever year it was for you. You have a unique thing. There are principles, right? And that's what I talk about in the series. There's ways of thinking your way through this, but you've got to make those choices, just as you did with Gateway, right? You made choices, and all I ask is that those choices be integrated, they fit together, reinforce each other to compel desired customer action. If you've got that, it was worth making those choices. If you don't, good luck. You might as well, randomly, just do random things, which many companies unfortunately do. They do a bunch of random things and then wonder why good things aren't happening.
Or they're not growing, right? At the end of the day.
Right. No, absolutely.
Well, this has been great. I hope everybody has appreciated this deep dive into strategy choice cascade. It's the first of the 5 categories we're going to talk about. Next one up is going to be the strategic choice of structuring process. Not today, but for the next time, don't forget, make sure you keep in touch with us through when the next shows will go live in Roger's blogs. Put comments and questions so that we know, did we go deep enough, too deep? You want more examples? We are here to serve the learning community that wants to get better at strategy. So thank you so much. I'm Tiffany Bova.
I'm Roger Martin.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.